Hi guys, everyone there?
Hiya.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey. Excellent. Hi, guys. All right. Okay, Juliet. Hey, girl. So, this is our season finale of the Dating Chronicles, which has just been really exciting. We have spent a lot of time kind of like just going through some topics, some ideas about just dating, hasn't it been? Dating, getting to know someone, etc. And we're just happy that you guys are here watching with us. And please feel free to get involved, etc., as you always do. But yeah, before we do that, I just want to introduce everybody that's here. So for those of you that haven't seen the first season and are just tuning in now, welcome. And my name is Dion Ray, and I am married to the lovely
Marcus Ray.
Yes, he's my husband of 9 years. Yes, and then I don't know, Sheree and Jonathan, you guys can introduce yourself, and then we'll carry on.
Thank you, I'm Sheree. And this is my lovely husband, Jonathan, and we have been married 9 years also.
Oh, gang.
Yes.
Excellent. Do you want to move on then? Should we go on to Juliet?
Oh, I thought we were just keeping theme with the couples.
I'm already.
Nah. This is the Dating Chronicles. No couples yet.
I'm Juliet. I'm not married.
Yet.
Hallelujah. I don't know what else I have to say because you've all just said that you're married, so I don't know.
Say you're a young, beautiful girl, just being you.
That's it. Period.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay, so we'll move on to the other screen that has a couple in.
Fine.
Oh wow.
My name is Talitha, and this is my fiance Wesley.
Hey. Wait a minute. Don't say. All right.
Oh man.
Felt good to say that.
Wesley, you ain't got nothing to say. I'm waiting for Wesley to come and.
Wow. Okay. I can say a lot, but we've been together for. Ooh, I should have started there. But for 3 years. In September.
Thank you.
Yes.
Nice.
And we've been engaged since May this year. So yeah.
Excellent.
Privileged to be here.
Yeah. And then.
Hello.
My little brother. Head come true now.
Yeah, my name is Adrian. I am the other non-married member yet. Joining you today. I'm just gonna slide in. I'm also a groomsman for this lovely engaged couple because
Well, come on.
Oh.
Yeah, nice to be with you all tonight. Excited.
Excellent. Look at him, got his drink ready and everything.
Big boy juice.
Morello cherry. If you don't know about it, get to know, guys. It's sweet. Julia introduced me. Good one.
Okay. All right, Sheree, that's what we need to get to know. Okay, so no, you go ahead.
So yeah, as you said, we just want to thank you guys for being a part of our season finale for our Dating Chronicles. We have put out a few episodes just touching on different subjects that have been really well received, and we just want to thank all the couples that we spoke to. So we want to thank the Sandersons, the Josephs, the Woodburns, and then we had Romana and Omar. So thank you guys. And also, again, just thank you guys for taking the time out to be with us today and do this. So during this episode, we're just going to touch on some of the points that were made throughout some of the different episodes, obviously get your perspective as well. And we just want to encourage those that are watching, send in your comments. If you've got questions, just send them in and just, be a part of it.
Yeah.
So one of our first episodes we did with the Sandersons, actually first I forgot, let's pray first and then we'll go into our first episode. Bow our heads. Dear Father in heaven, thank you so much for giving us a Sabbath as a means for us to be able to worship, but also for us to spend time in reflection of you. Now that Sabbath is over, we go into the first day of our week. Bless us as we go into our program as well, Lord. Help everyone who listens to gain something from it, and help us all to gain something from it as well, Lord. Continually bless us and protect us. In your holy precious name I pray. Amen.
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 Right, yes. So our first episode was Dating with a Purpose, and it was myself and Cherie, and we did that with the Sandersons, Jermaine and Nicole. It was quite a good episode. I enjoyed it. Bear joke. Wolverhampton team up, Wolverhampton link up. Know how we do. Greater City. But yeah. So
to the core.
100%. Wolverhampton, mate.
Blasphemy.
The confidence is.
Do you know what I mean?
It's only because their team are in the Premiership now. That's it.
It's always been a top city, to be fair, but it's all right. It might be a small city, but it's always been a top city. Don't watch that.
Okay.
So it's up to Jamaica.
It's not Birmingham though. It's not Birmingham. Come on.
Only because I live here.
Episode 1, Jonathan. Episode 1, you were saying.
So episode 1, so we spoke about dating with a purpose. So some of the things that we came up was, what are you bringing to the table in terms of dating? Everyone always has this, this is what I want. This is a list of what I want. Not thinking, hold on a second, what am I bringing? Am I anything to match up to what I want? All the expectations, look to what's your purpose of dating. What are the important things to look for? And also, are you, how can I say, if that person's got red flags, are you accepting those red flags and saying, okay, you know what, this isn't for me? We also spoke about the idea of, for those obviously who are religious, talking to God and saying, Lord, show me a partner, rather than getting with somebody and saying, oh, is this the right person?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So we spoke about some interesting things. And the idea of being ready, or trying to, or thinking you need to be at a certain point in your life before you actually get into a relationship, or is it a thing where you get into a relationship and you build together to be, what's that term we always use? Building the empire. That's it. Building the empire together. So we spoke and we discussed about things like that. But what I want to ask you guys, looking at obviously this idea of dating with a purpose, just want to find out, should you, or what do you think about going into a relationship with intentions? The intentions being, are you going in a relationship and saying, this is the person that I plan to marry, or is it just a bit of fun, a learning experience? Is it just, well, we're together, so we'll stay together and see what happens?
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on that?
For me, I'd say I've always like had discussions about dating with purpose with friends, like specifically this past year. I remember it was a hot topic, like say with me and my housemates, but also more so with my parents. I remember this year, I think I had a discussion with my parents about how kind of they got together, because I didn't know and I didn't ask until recently, but I kind of saw a difference in how they did it in their generation and how I'm seeing a lot of people kind of doing it now. So I think it touches on both what you're saying, dating with a purpose, as well as, what was the other thing you said again? purpose and
and dating for fun or building.
Kind of, I think so. Or no, looking for a partner. I think you mentioned that. Yeah. Like, so I remember when my parents were telling me about it, they were telling me how much it was a thing they kind of did prayerfully. They would like ask God, okay, now I'm at this point, reveal my partner to me. And I was thinking, it's not something I've done so much in my own self, and it's not something I've seen kind of my friends do. And I'm like, oh, maybe this is why I'm still here with no one next to me.
Hey, yeah. Jesus, brother, take it to Jesus.
In due season.
No, but I'd more so, I believe in like dating with purpose. For me, that's bottom line, kind of.
Yeah, I think it almost has to be. Because otherwise you're almost wasting time. You'll get to like 30 and think, oh, all these relationships I've been in, what was the point? What was it for? So I feel like there should be a purpose. I mean, obviously, I've heard the stories all through different places I've worked and stuff, and friends that they've done this and that in the past, and they look back and they just think, why? Like all that time when I've now found the person, I could have been building from back then. So I feel like it's got to be a purpose.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. Like, I think if you want to be, I'm speaking from like a younger generation, obviously, like compared to.
Whoa.
I need to
Wow.
But in terms of like, there's some people who like to go into relationships or date, even though they know they don't want to be with the person a long time, but they know that there's just a comfortability of being in a relationship or dating, but they've got no intentions. And for me, I've always seen that as being pointless because one, you're wasting time. Two, you're now catching feelings or allowing someone to catch feelings where they didn't need to be any of that. And then now that's a scar on that person's life because someone's going to leave or end up heartbroken in that situation. So I think if you date with intention, even if it doesn't work out, at least honestly on both of the sides, you can say I went in there with honest intentions, and it's less baggage on your side with people thinking this person's that or this or whatever. And I do think if you want to be about that life, you should be honest and open about being that life. And I know people won't agree necessarily, but if you're not about like the seriousness of being with a person to marry, then like be honest with that person. Let them choose to do foolishness with you or just walk away. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So on the contrary to that, I was gonna say just before we move on the contrary to that, don't you feel that sometimes God allows you to be in certain places or have certain experiences to teach you a lesson? So like you may experience something in your past, awful things that you may have done or whatever, and then you then think, actually, you know what? Now that I'm older or wiser or whatever, I know that I wouldn't do that again. So I feel like it's a bit of both. Yes, you do go in with intention, but then at the same time, if it didn't work out that way, don't beat yourself up too much because there's always a lesson. There's always a life lesson.
I'd kind of agree with that, even though I said I prefer dating with purpose. I remember, like, say, growing up in church, there was always kind of like contrasting views. So what you just said, Dion, I remember we were learning about that in Pathfinders. So for the most part, I'd always just heard, no, date for marriage, all that. But then I think the last class in Pathfinders in guides, they were talking about, like, say, even at your late teen years or whatever, just dating to get to know yourself. And I suppose, like, the thing is, I don't 100% agree with it myself, but it kind of makes sense in my opinion, because it's like you're getting to know yourself.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you're kind of getting to know yourself, getting to know. And I'm not saying don't, even in your teen years, don't do it with the intention of that. But I think what you said at the end kind of summed it up perfectly. Just don't beat yourself up and don't neglect the lessons that you learn if it doesn't, go the way that you intended.
Yeah,
go ahead, Jay.
Oh, go on. No. You go.
No, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Yeah. Also, so I was saying, I kind of understand the point where you can learn from your experiences, but I'm not sure if God wants you to get hurt or to hurt someone else in order for you to learn. So then your relationship in the future is perfect, and the person you've hurt is still struggling to find somebody. Yeah. And then when you're getting married, they're looking at you thinking, "Oh, look what he or she did to me." Do you know what I mean? So I don't know, but definitely, I feel like through every experience, every breakup you have, or something didn't go right, there's definitely a space to grow and to learn. And like you said, I don't think you should beat yourself up because you went through that or saying, "Oh, I should have done this or that." It's just a case of, you know what, I've learned from that experience. I can now grow, and I can see how my relationship in the future will be able to prosper or will be different from the experience I had.
Yeah, I think some of the problem that we have at times is that we jump into a romantic relationship as opposed to just having a relationship. You know, when I say that, I'm saying just friendships. I always remember my dad always used to say to me and my brother, have lots of girlfriends. Now, he wasn't saying have romantic girlfriends. He was saying have lots of girlfriends. You can be friends with people without pushing those boundaries. You think about the relationship.
No, it's true. It's true.
Think about the relationship.
I was encouraged to do the same thing. You have lots of friends. Have lots of boy friends, not boyfriends. Have lots of boy friends. Yeah.
And think about the relationship. So Talitha and Wesley, at this stage that you are in your relationship, think about all those things you've learned about each other, and it was just building on a friendship relationship. It wasn't necessarily it's no different to a normal relationship. So Adrian and Juliet, you guys are friends. We're all friends here. And it's not like I wanted to have a romantic relationship with Cherie. She's just my friend, you know what I mean? So you can build on that friendship. Don't get scared, Jonathan. It's okay, man.
Watch it.
You can build on that friendship relationship. And if it develops to romantic later on, fair enough, but have lots of friends and get to know each other. You see how people are in those friendships. You see what they're like. You see what they do. You know, whether they eat messy or, you know, all those different sort of things. You see that in the friendship relationship.
So like,
let's move on. So, yeah, go ahead, Jay.
I was just saying that, looking at obviously the same point, just quickly, if you both have the same purpose, like you both plan on getting married, does that mean that's it, or is that going to be the goal? Will it can it falter, or is it definitely gonna get married?
No, I don't think so. I think you can have the same intentions and your end goal can be the same, but then compatibility comes into it, because I guess what you see on the onset changes and more is revealed to you as time goes on, and you get like a more in-depth kind of overview of this person and their life and how they manage certain situations. So your purpose can be the same and your intentions can be the same, but I wouldn't say it's a done deal from that stage, really.
I think as well.
Come on,
like,
I want to hear from you.
I was just gonna say, Juliet's too quiet over there, man.
I'm coming through, Juliet. What's your thoughts?
Do you want to say? Go on, Juliet.
Nah, I think we should let First Lady go first.
Yeah, like, but I think
come true, First Lady, come true.
Let's not have that. Okay, so I think I'd say, like, with Wez and I don't think I did have the purpose of marriage, kinda, but it was like a vague purpose. As in, I've always said, oh yeah, the next relationship I'm in, like, marriage is the goal. Obviously, in number one, I didn't understand how much work would need to be required in getting there. And then also, at the end of the day, it's like, it's two people coming together. And like Cherie said, with the compatibility. So I think, especially with Wez and I, like we were friends and we like knew each other, but I didn't see him in that way before. So I didn't look at him and think, oh yeah, that's my husband kind of thing. But I think as we got to know each other and understood our compatibility and how our lives would actually like merge together, then it became a thing of, Adrian, allow it, man. Then it became a thing of, okay, actually, this can actually work. I feel like it was slightly different on your side of things, ever so slightly. But I think for me, it was, I'll expose it. But I think for me, it was more of a case of, yes, I did a lot of talking in terms of, oh yeah, my next relationship, yada, yada, yada. But when I was actually in it and getting to know Wez, I don't think I put in the work so much at the beginning, where I think he was putting in the work a bit more in terms of the marriage goal kind of thing. And then I had to catch you up kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm like Wez, you know.
Right, like Wez.
No, but what Talitha said is key, because with us, we were friends for time and we didn't see each other as being anything more. She's one of the ones where she's around and I'd never consider her. But I remember talking to friends, like when I was speaking to someone else, and I'd bring up Talitha as an ideal person to be with, but I would always be like, never for me, because we're just friends, you know what I'm saying? But then one day I deeped in, I was like, but why not? Do you know what I mean? Because because we were friends, I'd never ever look at it like that. But then my mindset changed and I was like, raw, she's raw ideal, like tip top, everything, you know, whatever. But yeah, so then in my mind, I was going this straight for like, I don't want to mess around. If I'm going into a relationship, it needs to have an end goal. So there needs to be purpose where we're going with this. Because I don't like the whole pointless thing of just seeing where it's going. So I was and I let her know. And it was probably a bit too much at the beginning, to be fair, because I didn't know straight away what kind of life I was about. So, yeah.
And while we're on this point, we've had a comment coming on YouTube, and it says, if purposes and intentions are the same, then that is a good start. Well, yeah. I guess it's a good start, definitely, because that shows that you're then on the same page.
Yeah. And you try to build on that then, don't you? You try to build on that good start. And that doesn't mean that, like Jonathan said before, it's not going to be rosy the whole time. It's not going to be perfect. But at least you got a good starting point. So yeah, that's a great comment. Great comment. Well, let's move on. So second episode, we talked about celibacy, that word that doesn't get thrown around a lot these days. So celibacy, we spoke to Omar and Romana about this and their journey through celibacy and how they dealt with it. Romana was the one that was leading it really, and Omar
she was setting the boundaries. Yeah. She was like, this is what it's going to be, and Omar just had to rise to the bar really.
Yeah. So okay. Omar came into the picture. So it was kind of how can you be intimate without having sex was kind of one of the questions. Is there a way to be intimate without having sex? That's the first question we're throwing out. What's your thoughts?
Yes. That's a good question.
Yeah. Okay, let's break it down some more then. So let's say, what is intimacy first of all?
Yeah.
What is that? What does that mean?
For me, like, I'd say it's just to the question as a whole, yes, because as you're saying, what intimacy is, it's being open and vulnerable in different ways. Like, say for me, I know sometimes I can be very emotionally kind of closed off kind of thing, to an extent, or to certain people. So like for me to share certain parts of myself, I know that I class that as intimate. Do you know what I mean? Because you're now on a different level for me to have been able to share that with you. Yeah.
I think I would add to that as well, because I agree with everything that Adrian just said, and what I would add to that is that kind of, we touched on love languages, our very first episode, and I would say it's kind of meeting someone with their kind of desired love language. So somebody might really want to spend like time, it doesn't have to be like about physical touch, like having that one-on-one time, doing things together, and not just, you know, physically being in the same room or, you know, knowing where someone is, but actually spending that close time and doing, like, having a shared activity. Or because I know in Romana and Omar did us like one of those like short videos on loving lockdown, and they shared a really good point, actually, like showing an interest in the other person's interest. So I think one of them likes to go bike riding or whatever, and, you know, she's not really into it, but the fact that she's kind of met him where he's at and she's spending that time with him and she's doing that, I think that's kind of showing someone that it's a type of intimacy, because you're showing them that you're willing and you're committing to doing something that means something to them.
Giving yourself, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely can be intimate. Oh, sorry, Juliet talking.
Go on, Jonathan. After you.
Okay, I'll quickly make my point so you can make yours, because you've been way too quiet now. Joking. Yeah, I'll quickly make my point. Yeah, so I do think you can be intimate. Obviously, echoing what Cherie's saying, it's just that idea of giving yourself without giving yourself, if you know what I mean. Letting that person into how you think or how you feel, going out, spending time together. That for me, that encapsulates intimacy without there being having to be the physical, having to be the sexual side of it. Yeah. And I think that's important before going to the sexual point, where you're having that emotional engagement before actually going to that sexual side of things. And I also feel like it's important to try and stay celibate. Definitely important thing to try and stay celibate. Yeah, go on, Juliet. Your time.
Hey, thanks. I think especially in our generation, it's about shifting your mindset. If sex is the only thing that you need out of a relationship, then, I mean, that's for you. But I think if you're intentionally dating, especially coming from a religious standpoint, and marriage is the goal and you intend to do things Christ's way, then it's important to shift your mindset from just an interaction being sexual, and also, as you said, like using other love languages. For me especially as well, like Adrian said, sharing intimate parts is very it's very important. Like I don't open up freely, so me being able to open up to you is something that I would consider very intimate. Someone else might not. Someone might want chocolate covered strawberries every Thursday, and that's their intimacy. But I think it's definitely about shifting your mindset, especially because society is so strong on having so-and-so sexual partners, what's your body count. There's such an emphasis on that sometimes we can get caught up in it. So I think definitely being intentional about what you want out of a relationship, and having those standards and goalposts from the beginning and making that known to everyone is very important. So
because sex can spoil the relationship 100%, especially if you're not ready for it, or you're both not at that emotional point within it. And touching what Adrian said beforehand, the idea of knowing what you're going into a relationship for. If one person's saying, you know what, marriage is the goal, but the other person's saying, I just want to hit it, then you're definitely going to fail, and sex will inevitably spoil that relationship.
It's true. So even that idea of celibacy as a whole, is it still relevant in today's society? Would you say it's still relevant?
Definitely.
Yeah, I think 100%, especially more because of the climate that we live in, where sex is literally all around you. As Juliet said, changing the mindset is very helpful, especially in just giving people the discipline that's necessary, which can be seen in that affects other aspects of the relationship as well. Showing the discipline in terms of intimacy or sex, whatever, helps discipline in other stuff, and now how you react, how you interact with each other as well. So I think even, especially in this climate, it's very necessary with young people, old people, whatever.
Yeah, go ahead, Adrian.
Can I also just add on to that? Like, I think one of the things that like is always I found odd is the fact that it's not spoken about so much, especially coming from our church backgrounds. It's always just don't do it, but there's never education or reasoning. And again, talking about how the generations are these days, number one, accessibility to a whole heap of things is rampant. And secondly, the questioning minds that like younger generations have, wanting to know why, as why kind of thing, why things are being said. I think it's greatly important, and I'm saying that because I've seen, like, say, people younger than me. I don't know how to put it, but like, just the knowledge they have is way up there, consider, or in comparison to the knowledge I had at their age. And that's me. I'm still like a fairly young person, do you know what I mean? And they're even engaging in stuff that is a bit mad. But
it's because it's at the press of a button now, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying. For me, I think it's a lack of like education, lack of discussion. Yeah, it's a whole heap of something.
Yeah, and just to add though, I think we also should say the realness of it, that because of the societies that we live in, it is hard within a relationship being celibate. So I talk to many of my friends who are in relationships, who are being celibate, and they will tell me, yo, Wes, struggling with, because of the society that we live in, and because everything's around you all the time, and the stuff that you've even fed your mind, or that you've had going to the schools that we went to, the things that that's what you've had injected into your mind. It's the real thing about it is that it is hard, but there are boundaries that you can set up. Hence why what Adrian's saying, the conversations need to be had to help young people to manage what they've been grown up being taught, and then the reality of actually how they should approach relationships.
And I think it's funny because I haven't seen it recently, but probably a few years ago, I used to watch the Celebrity Data. So this woman used to set up celebrities or very rich clients to have relationships, and her rule was
no sex before monogamy.
Yeah, no sex before monogamy. That's right. And she was basically trying to teach them, well, it's not about the sex. It's about getting to know this person that you're trying to have a date with. You know, learn to do things that are, as we've talked about, intimate. Things that are intimate, and you're getting to know that person without it jumping into, as you said as well, Wesley and Jonathan, instead of jumping into the sex, and then the whole mindset is totally different.
So then you have, again, the other approach, the other side to the coin, where people are saying, well, I'd like to try before I buy. I don't want to be in that position where I go out and say, I'm deciding that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with this person, and then it's not, they're not to the standard that I expected or that I envisaged, or do you know what I mean? But then my response to that would be, well, if it's for you, if it's for you, it's for you. And that is where you are, when you are mentally on that level and you are mentally intimate, then you are able to speak about these things, and you talk, and it becomes a journey. That's where you grow together.
I think, again, like Wes was saying, it's society, isn't it? Society is drummed into that someone's supposed to be great in this way. So the mindset going into certain relationships, if it is try before they buy, is, well, I want to know that it's going to be great before I get married to it. But it's kind of like you go into a sweet shop, you can't necessarily try what you're going to buy before you buy it. You got to buy it first. So there's also that way of looking at it.
Just before we move on, I think what I would say to that is know your worth. If you know that's what you want and that's your expectation, and someone comes to you and says, yeah, well, that's not what I want to try before I buy, I pray no one would ever address you like that, but someone comes to you and says, this is actually, I want to. I think in the very same vein of that episode with Romana and Omar, like, they're your standards. You keep your standards and you know your worth. If someone can't meet you at that point, then they're not for you.
One more thing we spoke about. Go ahead, Jay. I'm going to move on.
To change that mindset is very difficult. It's almost like everything you see in media, TV, you jump on your Instagram, on everything is this whole idea of sex and having sex with basically whoever you feel like, because intimacy is based on that whole sexual thing. So it's very, very hard to change someone's mentality that if they feel like, or even to change someone's mentality if they've already been having sex, to then come into a relationship and say, okay, intimacy is the standard. It is very difficult. And I mentioned it in our first episode, the Chronicles one, the Dating Chronicles, that my mindset in terms of relationship came from watching Will Smith, watching Fresh Prince, for real. Like every week, my man had a different girl. His lip sync out, like, and like you think. I watched it recently as well, and you think this guy must be having sex from early. Then all of a sudden, you go 3 or 4 seasons in, and you find out he's actually a virgin. But then he's looked down at himself for being a virgin, and his cousin, and they're all like, it's just between them two. They're looking down at each other because they are virgins. So it's almost like, yeah, they've been doing all of this, and then now it comes out they are both virgins. It's like a bad thing, and that's the mentality that I got. And then like, so for now, the kids who have got Instagram and like they open up their Explorer and they're like, oh my goodness, so some of the things I see on my Explorer, I had to like come off Instagram for a bit because I thought, not for me. No, Jesus.
That's the right thing to do. Well done, Jonathan.
Like now that social media is like pushing certain things, it's like how on earth are people going to be able to be in relationships and be celibate when their mindset is just being pushed into having sex and being sexual from the get-go? I just a little point.
And just one more thing that we touched on in that episode before we move on. It was talking about counselling, and when is a good point to have counselling. What are you guys' view on it? Obviously, counselling is always seen as it's for couples that are either going through a bad situation,
struggling in a situation that they need to.
There's been an affair. There's been going through a divorce. What's your guys' view on counselling? Have you had any thoughts?
I'd never heard of like. Sorry, I was just gonna say quickly. I'd never even heard of like pre-engagement counselling until like say these guys started talking about it, and like all the other friends are like, "Oh yeah, I'm in pre-engagement." I said, "Huh?" I didn't know it was a thing. I literally didn't know it was a thing, but kudos.
It's excellent. Counselling is brilliant. So good. And I don't think you have. I think. Go on, Talitha. You go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm a bit biased, but I'm a huge advocate for pre-marital counselling. I kind of knew about it because obviously with my dad and stuff, so I'd see him counsel couples. So I guess I always view that as the norm, and I would never, like, Wez and I spoke about it anyway, we're both on board, but I will definitely not get married without it. I think for me, because we're young, I felt like I needed it, I think more than Wez felt like we needed it, in terms of just because I was just like, oh no, I just need to go for it just to make sure like we're doing the right thing. I don't really know, like this is a bit like scary kind of thing. And I think with Wez and I, we're quite thorough. So when we do counselling, it was a bit like, oh, we've actually talked about this already. Oh, we've discussed this already. Oh yeah, this is calm. Like this is actually not a problem. And then it really did give like me the confidence, like actually I can do well. With God's help, I can do this marriage thing. Like, obviously, I know it's hard, but it did give me a lot of confidence.
It's just, I think anything though, you have to. You have to.
Exactly, and I think as well, it was just having a person there to sometimes see a different perspective, or a person who has gone through it before and can just guide. And even if there might be things that we don't necessarily agree with. It's still that fresh perspective, and then we can still obviously keep the conversation going after counselling as well. So I think it's something that is quite key, I think.
Excellent.
As well, I'd say it's not just about ironing out creases or discussing something that you might not have touched on before. It's knowing and learning how to respond to somebody as well. There's definitely been points, shortly after we got married where something would happen and my mind would just flip back to, oh, I remember actually we discussed this, and it was all just about knowing how to communicate with him in the best way, given a certain situation. So yes, it's great to obviously talk about situations that you might not have brought up, but it also is really good to learn how to communicate with your potential spouse. So yeah. Shall we move on to episode 3?
I can't believe how fast the time is going. Like, for real.
I know.
Oh, wow.
Jonathan and I spoke with Jayana and Jonathan. It was quite difficult, actually. Jonathan and Jonathan. So
in the name of Kings, of Kings, Wolverhampton and Jonathan.
Wake up the children, man. So we spoke with Jayana and Jonathan about dating with purpose. Some of the things that we kind of wanted to get their perspective on is what we've kind of touched on already. So like Jayana obviously moved to go to university, and we were just asking questions like, did you feel like you were going to find someone there? Did you intend on, being with someone and setting up in the States? We spoke about like this, like building an empire. Sorry, we spoke about this conception of you have to already be somewhere, like you have to already have everything together. And
that's not the case.
Like people definitely think, oh, I can't go up, like I have to have someone that's got this much money, I want someone that's already got a house, I need someone that's already, in their career.
Juliet's face.
I guess, when I was asking, one of the questions I said to her is like, do you feel like you need to be with someone that's already figured out, for want of a better word? Or can you grow together?
Come on, Juliet. Come on,
Juliet. I can see there's something burning there.
Yeah.
I was just confused as to why Adrian doesn't have a glass, but
thinking about it.
It's okay. It's fine.
People definitely have glasses in there, yo.
Can we get Adrian a glass, please?
Some support.
No.
Jeffrey.
I don't know. I think this is a tricky one because you have to have a purpose in life for yourself before you can go and date someone else. So in that sense, I would say, yeah, it's important that you are fairly established, but not necessarily in materialistic things, if that makes sense. So know who you are and what you want, because you can't set, as we talked about before, we need standards in relationships, especially for both of us to move forward. So if you don't know who you are and there's no standards, then it's just two people making a chaotic situation, in my opinion. So,
that's a good point.
Okay.
So I think necessarily about, I don't know, whether you want to buy a house or not, I mean, that can change. But within who you are of yourself, I think that needs to be established beforehand before you can go out and seek someone else. So it's a bit of a balance that's needed. Yeah.
It's knowing who you are so that you can, it's not about waiting for somebody to make you. It's about knowing who you are initially. Yeah, I like that.
And you can build together that as well. Like you can get the house together, get the car together, get everything else together. Or you can have it separately. It doesn't matter. But I think knowing who you are is fundamental.
Yeah, I was just gonna add on top of that. I remember, like, say again, growing up, like you'd always see in movies or TV shows or something, people would say, "Oh, I am half a person. I'm looking for my other half."
Will you complete me?
Yeah, that saying has never sat right with me. I just didn't think it made sense. And I've like when I was older, then like the first time I heard, no, you're meant to be a whole person with another whole person. It can't like kind of be, oh, my other half. It never sat right with me. And like I understand, I feel like I get where people are trying to come with it, but you saying, oh, I need someone to complete me, that's what I don't agree with. Do you know what I mean? As Juliet's saying, know who you are first, because then again, if you don't know who you are in yourself, and then you're looking for that in someone else, that's damaging for the two of you, I think, kind of thing. So it's like, as much as it doesn't make sense, it's two complete people becoming one person. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to half a person. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
I was gonna say, I think it's. Oh.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think it's also important to appreciate that, you know, as you get older, certain things are gonna change. And there's nothing wrong with your desires and wanting a person changing also. So for example, like Wes and I, we met when we started seeing each other, we were students. I can't expect man to be having XYZ when I haven't got XYZ. And I haven't got anything. There's nothing wrong with that, because we're definitely going to be like building together. And I love the fact that we can actually build together. However, if I was like, say, hadn't met someone in like 10 years time, so now I'm 33, I, God willing, would be establishing my career. If I'm looking for a partner, there's going to be certain things that I'm going to be looking for. Like, I would expect you to have some sort of establishment in your ambitions and things like that, because I'm not with, my mum didn't raise me to be with no bath hand, and she likes to tell me. So it's like, you have to adjust your mentality. You have to adjust your mentality depending where you are in life, and actually evaluate. Like, some of my friends, what they're expecting in their partner, I'm a bit like, what are you bringing? Because you're asking him to do all these things, want all these things, and you're not doing anything. And I think that's really, really unfair to do that. And I think it can be quite toxic as well, because then you're now dependent on a person. And we've seen through this pandemic, life can change like that. So if you're reliant on someone to do everything for you, you have nothing to like fall back on. So of course it's who you are as a person and making sure you know what completes you. But I think also be open to adjusting to the various milestones in your life and understanding what those milestones may bring and what that means for you in what you want. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it's also being aware of that as well.
Excellent. Thank you for bringing that out. So important. I think Adrian is very happy about this.
That's him friend himself.
Okay, so the final episode that we had, episode 4, was entitled "From the Moment We Met, It Was You." And in that episode, he talked about like how friendship can develop into something that can be an amazing romantic relationship just from starting off as friends. I always trouble Juliet about this one. That's why she's giving them her eye roll, because I always trouble her about this.
So, trouble me, right?
So let's. So like it could start off as friends. It then develops into a relationship, and then the relationship may end up like how in our situation it ended up that we're married. Children. Same with Talitha and Wesley. They're starting that journey now. Jonathan and Cherie were friends too. One thing I have said though is that I never friend zoned Marcus. Marcus friend zoned me.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Just saying. Like it was a friend. So let's go from that point. Can you?
Oh, is that the time? Let's move on.
Like, so my question is like, can you can you get out if you put somebody in that friend zone box? Like, is that where they stay? Is it nah? You're my friend. That's it. I can't see anything else developing ever like that, and it's just not. I can see you as a friend. I can't have you as a partner. Just no. So what do you feel with that? What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I think once you're friend zoned,
Nah, man. Nah. Let's go to Singletons, please.
Ladies first.
Okay, let's hear what Adrian's got to say.
No, I said ladies first. Juliet can go first.
Oh,
come on, Juliet.
Adrian, you've been asked to speak. Speak.
Do as you're told.
Oh man. The thing is, for me, it depends what type of friendship you have with someone, for starters. Like, for instance, I'm gonna put this disclaimer out there because me and Juliet get this all the time. All
Put it out there.
But the thing is, like, I'm not
Look at her face. Go on, sorry.
I'm just saying, I'm not a friends only non-believer, but for me, it depends on the type of friendship you have with a.
It's a religion.
No, but like I'm trying to answer, like, so in terms of getting out of the friend zone, it depends how the friendship is or how the friendship's set up, the type of friendship it is. I think that's an important thing because, like, say, I don't know what it was like for the three of you couples there, or like how close friends were you, like, kind of before you got into a relationship.
Okay, I can explain my friend zone situation.
Go ahead,
my
please.
friend zone situation was that Marcus was like, nah, she's too young. Look at her. Nah, she's just a friend. She's a friend. That's what it was. That is exactly what it was. And
Mark,
can I say, he's 3 years older than me, you know. 1, 2, 3.
No, but that makes a big difference. No, Marcus. No, I'm with
When
Marcus.
when you're young.
When you're young, that makes a difference. It does. It does.
19, 18.
It does.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Jonathan.
yeah.
That's prison.
That's illegal.
Yeah.
Okay. So then what about Jonathan and Cherie? Like, what was your friendship before?
We weren't that.
Good friends.
Yeah, just friends.
Wow.
Well, people would know, like, because I was saying to Wes how my friend zoned you, but I did in my head in terms of, I basically family zoned him because Adrian, you know, we're all in the same class, innit? I said I will not be with no man from Harperville. Like, I said specifically never, especially in my year, absolutely not. Because there was 11 boys and there's 5 girls. I said, these boys are basically like my brothers. Sounds weird, but you know. And then I remember when Wes and I started seeing each other, and I was speaking to my girls and I was just like, she's like, you like? And I was just like, nah. I said, I can't. I said, my motto. I have a motto.
Not
Like,
surprising you how many boys are wearing
You know what I mean? Like this.
Marcus,
This
there was
cannot
only 16 of us. There was only 16. It was literally
We were quite close.
Yeah,
And this
even
is the thing, in my class, I'm close to all the, like, I am close to the, like, more the church, people who still go to church and stuff. So, like, we would always interact kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, like, it's going to sound weird, but I used to see Wesley, like, how on levels with, like, how I see Adrian. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's just someone who, like, I can talk to. There's no issues. Like, I can go to advice if I want to. Do you know what I mean? So it took me a while because it was my own mentality that was the problem. But it was just like, I was catching feelings and I was just like, I had to let it go. And I remember even Delight said, she was just like, I thought you said you're not gonna. I said, I don't want to hear it. just be quiet. I keep it moving. Thank you.
No, but on a level though, look how that brotherly friendship turned into a different kind of relationship. There's nothing wrong with it. It came out of the friend zone, but look at all the experiences that you would have had just as friends, and all the things you would have learned about them as well.
Well, you know, saying that, I feel you from that point of view, because, like, when I think about all the boys that we grew up with at Camp Hill, it's exactly the same thing. And like when we used to go to camps and stuff, you know, Pastor Palmer or Pastor Horst, they'd be like, oh, you can't go on the boys' side because, or you can't go on the, and we're like, where's the boys? Like, you talking about these ones? Like, boys.
Oh, brother.
Yeah. So, and would I ever marry them? As much as I love them, no. So I do hear it from that point of view. But
it was kind of like that with us and.
But it was different because you were far. You were a distant friend. You were like a youth day friend. You know, find a friend.
I like that. You think
that's very specific.
Yeah, man. Like, you know, he was a North England conference friend.
No way.
So, you know, but I feel you, Talitha. I hear that. Fair enough.
I totally get where Talitha's coming from.
So that means you agree with Juliet then? Do you?
Who, me? Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I do
because
to a certain extent. No, to a certain extent. What I've always said to Juliet is, I said, you know, when it comes to certain friends, the certain ones, look at Wez and Talitha, exactly the same thing. So when there's certain friends, it just makes the road a lot smoother.
Juliet's face, she's not impressed.
Okay,
I'm not.
she's not having it. So
Yeah, speak on it.
It's all right. We're praying for you.
Pray on it. Pray on it,
It goes
Juliet.
out
Pray on it.
to everyone that has platonic friendships. They're okay. They are safe in the
Wow.
and they matter. Okay. No. It's just no. You know what? It's okay. Like, that's you guys' story. That's not my story.
Yeah.
It's like, it cannot.
No, I hear that.
no,
I
I
hear that.
hear that.
We're playing.
Full respect to Juliet. Fair play.
No, but small. I just wanted to add, like, but you see, for me, like, even just the way the three of you couples have said it, the friendship that you had, that's why we're saying it's dependent on the type of friendship you have.
Definitely.
Like, the friendship that you have, I'd say is definitely completely different to, like, the friendship me and Juliet have. But that's what I'm saying. Just because the two of us get it a lot, it's just. It's
I hear your frustration.
I don't want you to feel like this is the Juliet and Adrian matchmaking show, because it's not. So that's not what it is. Like, your brother and sister, we get it. Like, we get it. We get it. So let's move on. Okay, so like we've go to Aberdaron camps, and like I'm sure we've all done Aberdaron camps. We've been involved with Pathfinders, etc. And even from adventurers growing up and whatnot. And I personally think that it's a really good way to highlight what prospective partners are like. So like, do they get up in the morning and hold a fresh? Do they brush their teeth? Do they comb their hair? Like, now the way how we are, we're not really, how do we put it? We don't just know about how people are because, like, spending the night with someone and then seeing what they're like isn't the way how we move. So camps and stuff are brilliant because this is your opportunity to do it in a safe environment and you see what they're like, etc. I personally think that that's what that's how I knew what Marcus was like, because even from Prayer Warriors, like, Marcus would be the last one to try to go to sleep, and then even when he's saying that he's awake, this guy's got dropsy, and now he's still got dropsy. Like, he'll just, like, he'll be that one. I knew that already though, because I've seen him at camps.
Listen, is this a good thing or a bad thing she's talking about? I'm a bit confused. I'm
just saying, I knew you before I married you. Like, okay. I knew what to expect. Like, Marcus can sleep standing up. Like, I know that because I've watched him at camps. I've seen him.
Because I work hard.
So what are you lot's views on like the camps and stuff? Do you think that's a good way, or do you think there's a better way that people who are watching might say, oh, I'm trying to find out about a person?
And do you purposely, in your mind, take those opportunities to see what people are like, or do you just take it for granted?
Yeah, that's a good
you see, you just have to take it, innit?
I think it's a plus if they're there. Like, to be fair, Wes and I started talking because of Master Guide, to be fair.
Oh yeah, we did.
So you guys, man, relax. So
I'm just saying, there's a lot of accusations flying around and they were lying. I just want to say Bishop and Talitha were lying at Master Guide, and I just want to say it's not good to lie.
And you called it
out. It was early days, man. How could I speak too soon? And then it don't work out, then what? Oh no, can't be having that.
Then it's a lesson, Talitha. It's a lesson.
Yeah, a public lesson. I don't want a public lesson, I want a private lesson.
I think it's the best.
I suppose the question again, what Dion was asking is, do you guys are they good opportunities to identify what people are like? Have you had those opportunities? We're not asking you whether you are looking at a certain woman or looking at a certain man, Juliet and Adrian, but do you take those opportunities to see what people are like?
Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, let me bring it down to earth. So we know that these people, Juliet is an absolute spice. We know this. And we know that Adrian is like fire. Okay, so like our people are fire. We know this. So there are going to be people who are watching and going, oh, I'd love to have somebody like Adrian, or I'd love to have someone like Juliet. There's going to be people watching like that. So when we're talking from that point of view, we also know that you don't take rubbish. So what is it that you are aspiring to as like a part? Like what kind of partner would you expect? What are your expectations? What?
I don't know. I feel like I'm just marinating all the questions in one because there was like 5. But I think to answer Marcus's question first, I don't think I actively go to camp or like camp meeting and like think about that, but I do think about it on a personal level though, if that makes sense. So not oh, would he be a nice partner? He washes the dishes, that's nice. I'm just thinking, why haven't you washed the dishes, sir? Just in general. Do you know what I mean? I just
yes, Juliet. My girl.
They're just things that I think are normal etiquette, and I think for me, if you don't do that, you raise a flag as a person, not just a spouse. So I think in some ways I might see it like that, but largely I don't think no. But I would say friendcations are great. You know, get your friends together, bring them at a Airbnb and see.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Okay, I like that.
The thing is, what you're saying, I think that they are like camps and stuff. They're really good opportunities for the things that you're saying, and I've seen that like myself, kind of thing. But for me these days, when I think about it, most of the time I'm going to these camps with people I already know, so it's kind of like fornications. You know what I mean? So when Marcus is asking if you take it for granted, maybe I did. Who knows? But again, as you're saying, I think they're really good opportunities because again, you get to see different sides of people than you would than just a normal youth day. Because youth day, everyone's coming just for the day for starters, and you'll see them for a couple of hours. But like, say these residential type things, camp meeting, Aberdare and Pathfinder camps, you see different sides of people. You get to see little things like their hygiene, how they take care of themselves, how they are at different times of the day. Because I know, like, you get a youth day, that's one day. Camp meeting in Aberdare, and they're a whole week. You kind of get to see more of a
who needs to go to bed, who's not a morning person. Who can't play fairly when they're playing like social games, who has a tantrum, like, I get it.
Who's the competitors?
I feel like in general they're probably taken for granted because not a lot of the time, unless you're thinking about it, you'd see these things, but you wouldn't kind of equate them to, as Julia says, how a person is in general or them as a spouse.
But it will come to a time like Talitha and Wez, when all those things, you look back on those situations and be like, okay, I remember that still.
And I think that's what I was thinking in my head. You're not going to go to these things and you're not looking for a spouse, but like when you do start talking to someone, you remember, hold on a second, my man's got a wicked temper, or I saw how really nice he was to that girl when he helped her up off the floor, or like Juliet saying, he washed the dishes. Do you know what I mean? You'll see all these little things. Anyway, but guys, we have been talking for a while now, and I think it's time for us to wrap it up. But it's been really, really good. I mean, like being able to speak about all these things, different perspectives. A lot of the things we've been doing has all been with people who are married or like established relationships. But it's nice to obviously hear from our single guys and also the guys who are planning on going and the guys who are planning to be married, newly engaged. And it was we hope obviously you guys all enjoyed the episode, guys listening live. Don't feel like you can't still add comments. The videos go on our live YouTube stream, after it anyway. So if you do have any comments or anything, you can just tap them in on there, or on our Instagram and Facebook. But yeah, so obviously YouTube, those who are on YouTube, you can see it, share it to your friends and to your family. And obviously it's youtube.com/Can You Just Talk. Instagram page is Can We Just Talk 20. And we're also on Facebook as well at Can We Just Talk. Is it 20 as well? Can We Just Talk 20 on our Facebook page. Yeah, you know, like, subscribe, share. But yeah, thank you all guys for listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and then thank all you guys who were part of the panel as well.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Cherie, can you let the people know about season 2?
Yes. Okay, so it's in work. It's coming. We're doing a lot of planning. We're getting some guest couples involved. We've got some really big things coming. We've got some really interesting topics, and we're just going to try and keep it fresh. You know, mixing up the couples, getting different perspectives, people that are newlyweds, people that have been married for, you know, twice
donkey's years,
twice the amount of time we have, you know. So we just really want you guys to keep following, keep looking at what we're doing, and just wait for our announcements to come. So we'll be kicking that off in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, stay tuned.
Thank you. And don't forget to send in your questions as well, guys. Any questions, any topics you want us to explore and have a look at, we'll be looking into them as well when season 2 starts. Let's just close with a prayer. Lord, we thank you for the time we spent together as friends, as couples, and even just as single people, Lord. We know that there are many things that we will discover throughout our lives, many experiences that we will have. We just ask that we will take all the positives and even the negatives, Lord, and use them to turn them into positives for our lives going forward. And watch over each of us and everyone that was watching. We hope that everyone has gleaned something from the program and will use it to help them further their walk and further their journey. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
See you.
Take him in no longer live.
Nice.
Bye, everybody.